Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Average Joe to Studio Pro. In the last episode, we began our work mixing drums using volume control and the pan controls. Today, we'll continue our mix by using EQ and compression. So let's start by listening where we left off. Okay, so let's jump right in with the EQ. First, we're going to listen to the kick drum and see what we need to do. So let's take a listen. Okay, so I can hear it definitely needs more on the attack, so we're going to give it a small boost around 8K. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sweep around to find the attack sweet spot. Alright, so there we go. We got the attack going in that. So now I feel it needs a little more body. I'm going to boost around 60 to 70 hertz to find what I need. And I'm going to try to keep my boosts minimal. I usually am boosting no more than 4 dB most days. And I'm going to follow the same process for across the drums. So let's get this bass going. All right, and now I'm just going to go ahead and sweep out some of the mid-range that I don't need in this kick drum, and then we'll move on. There we go. All right, we'll focus on EQing the overheads after I finish through these, and then we'll continue from there. Okay, so now we're going to get started with the EQ on the overheads. First, I'm going to go ahead and center that track and give it a listen. All right, so I really want the overheads to focus on the cymbals. So with a high pass filter, I'm going to remove most of the low end. And don't be afraid to make large cuts here. We need to make room for the rest of the mix anyway, and focus on bringing down the harshness of the cymbals. Alright, so this feels good, and I'm liking the smoothness of the high end. And we're going to go ahead and copy and paste this to the other track as well. And then we're going to move on to compression. Okay, so when I start with compression, I think of two goals to accomplish. One is controlling the dynamics of the volume, and two is bringing up lost volume. Drums have immediate hits, so I like to set my attack fast, my release moderately fast, with the ratio of my drums at about 4:1. And you're going to start with the gain at 0 and the threshold all the way up. Next, I'm going to go ahead and start to slowly bring that threshold down until I can hear the control. So let's start with our kick drum. All right. Now my gain is only used if the volume is low, and like I said, I need to bring it back up. Generally, when you EQ some things and you start to compress some things, your tracks tend to be lost in volume, and that's what that gain is for. It's to bring back that gain or that volume that was lost. So I'm going to follow the steps across the board, and we'll continue with the compression in the overheads. All right, so when I start with the overhead compression, a lot of the time the snare will blast through the overheads. My goal with the overheads is to control and contain that snare. Note that the distance from the snare to the microphone here is going to be a lot larger. So my attack will need to be a little bit slower. My release will be moderately slower than before. And again, you're going to start with your gain at 0 and your threshold all the way up. Slowly pull that threshold down and focus on getting that snare contained and controlled. So this will really test your focus and your ears. And when you hear the snare start to even out with the cymbals, we're done. So let's take a look. Okay, you saw me bring up the volume there. I just wanted to test and make sure that everything is sitting where it needs to. So again, we're going to go ahead and copy and paste this over. And now let's just make sure the mix sounds great. Let's take a listen. Okay, so we do hear a little ringing from the toms. That can be also controlled by using a noise gate, but that's a different thing for a different time. So that's all we have for today. Now, if you missed part 1, I suggest heading there now. You can check it out in the video right here. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and share. Or you can go to our YouTube channel and subscribe for weekly home studio tutorials. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Head over to averagejoestudiopro.com and subscribe to our weekly email. As for that, thanks for joining us and continuing our journey in going from Average Joe to Studio Pro. And until next time, guys, cheers.